Welcome to Learning to Glow, a show about wellness, skin health, and self-development. I'm your host, Jess. I'm a mom, entrepreneur, and skincare expert. I'm so excited to share tips on how to achieve healthy skin and bring amazing guests in the field of health, fitness, aging gracefully, and personal growth. Let's explore all different ways we can take care of ourselves as women, both inside and out, to truly shine. So let's get glowing. Hi, everyone, and thank you so much for joining me today. I have a wonderful episode for the moms out there. We are talking nutrition and youth sports with co-founder of Thread Performance, Clark Hardman. We had such a great conversation about foundational nutrition and why we need to supplement at times. Having an athlete in your household and how there are things that we can do to help support them, whether they are 8 or 18. We talked about who is right for the supplement creatine, which I've actually had some moms reach out to me and ask me about, and I didn't have a good answer for them. So make sure to listen till the end to hear what Clark said about that and so much more. I hope you enjoy this one. And I know a lot of my listeners have kids. They have kids in sports, and I think this will be a really informative episode for you. So make sure to share this episode with someone that you know that has kids in sports, or maybe they have a picky eater. We cover a lot of topics in this episode, but definitely if you know of somebody who has a kiddo in sports, make sure to send it to a friend. I will link the website Thread Performance so that you can check out the products. They sound amazing. I am going to be trying them out myself and sharing what I think. So definitely check them out. And thank you guys. Thanks for being here and enjoy this one. Hello, everyone, and welcome to our show. Today, we have Clark Hardman with us. Welcome to Learning to Glow.
Hi, Jess. It's great to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yes, I'm so excited to speak with you today. We are going to be talking about something that I know a lot of our listeners are moms, and a lot of them have teenagers, tweens, a lot of kids in sports. And so I'm so excited to talk to you about this today. My son, I was telling you, is an athlete. So I would love if you could just start by telling us a little bit about you, and then we'll get into that topic and the company that you're with.
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Clark. Background in sports, specifically baseball. I got the opportunity and privilege to play baseball in college and was drafted by the Cubs, and then got into business in all different types of sales, and had the opportunity to run sales for a private equity portfolio, and really just wanted to blend my world of passions, right? And so one of my co-founder, Jordan Palmer, he coaches high school quarterbacks and quarterbacks of all ages, down from 8 to some of the guys that play in the NFL right now. And he actually approached me with the idea of Thread Performance. And Thread was this idea where we could create what we thought was a gap in this supplement market right now, where supplements today are not made with a developing body in mind. And so I'll get into some of the details about it, but the long story short is, took my passions of a healthy lifestyle, athletics, and leaning into business with my kids behind the idea behind this. And Thread came to life.
That's really, really cool. And I think a lot of parents they're not as aware of some of the things that we could be helping our kids with, like when it comes to nutrition and supplements. I think it's not something that, it sounds new, like really that what you guys are doing sounds very innovative and new. So that's really exciting. I want to talk to you about, because you have such a background in sports and you are someone who is now really, I'm sure, very focused on nutrition for kids. Why was Thread thought of? Let's just start with that. Like, what did you see with kids that made you feel like this is a need that we are not addressing?
Yeah, it's a great question. So I think that our parents did the best they could with the knowledge that they had at the time, right? And we've learned a lot over the last 20 years since I've played sports. I was a fast food kid. I ate frozen meals. I drank more soda than I care to admit. I ate candy, every candy that I could put my hands on. And then I went out and performed, and it worked out for me, right? But my body broke down. I had multiple surgeries, and I had this idea of like, what if, right? What if I knew today back then, and I really understood how nutrition is fueling my body? Would I have held up differently? Would I have performed at a different level? Would I have felt differently just in general in the classroom? And so my business partner was very similar. He played in the NFL for a little bit. And he also was growing up on frozen dinners. His parents worked all day long and they came home, and just in the crunch that we're experiencing right now as parents, what is the fastest thing we can put into our kids' bodies that can put them to bed and get them off to the next day and do it all over again, right? Um, and so that was kind of the background of this and the premise behind Thread. But one of the things that Jordan was experiencing in his camps were the parents were asking him the same questions over and over again, right? And the one question that he didn't have the answer to was, what should I be giving my kid to help separate their performance on and off the field, right? And I'll start with this. We when we first talked about this idea was, if we could change the behavior of every kid out there, every teenager out there, and you could eat a perfect wholesome diet, there's no reason for Thread. There's none, right? If you can go out there and eat the perfect, well-balanced diet every single day on every meal, great. Then we don't have a company to start. And honestly, that would be the number one goal for my kids. The reality, though, is very, very different, as I'm sure you've experienced. We live very fast-paced lives. We're asking more of our kids than we ever have. Sports specialization movement, you're starting earlier with this commitment to sports, which we didn't have, the school days that you're having, the social clubs afterwards. The reality is their access to a well-balanced diet is very limited. And in fact, there's a statistic out there that shows that 70% of the diet that our kids eat is a highly processed food diet, right? From the ages of 8 to 18. It's just so backwards, right? And we write this. Sometimes we look at our kids and think they have ADHD, or they're irritable or lethargic or whatever that may be. We write it off to a character issue or a character trait. And most of these things just can actually be solved if you give them proper nutrition. And so we sought out to solve this problem in the crowded world of supplements right now. Those supplements are crafted with you and me in mind, right? People that once played sports back in our back as teenagers or wherever that may be. And we want to get back to a physical place or mental place that we once had. They're not made for the developing bodies. They're not made for kids that are going through puberty right now, that are on social media. They're dealing with different social pressures than we've ever had to deal with. And the activities that we just talked about. And so that was really the premise behind Thread. Like, let's go solve this problem. Blue sky, how do we change what's available in a snack bar at a sports field? But if we can start with some of the foundational elements and the education for not only parents, but the athletes, I think we're doing our small part with that.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. That's so true. And we've talked about this so much on my podcast, how nutrition and diet can literally change so many different things. And I've had a personal story with that with my kid too. And just how drastically you can improve so many different things with diet. But then, like you said, the parents are dealing, they're, first of all, they're confused. They don't know. They don't have a lot of information, that's number one. But also there's time. Like, not only are the kids busier than ever, the parents are busier than ever. I remember driving home from a baseball game this summer. And like, by the time my son got to the field, it was like, he didn't want to eat before the game. And then I swear it was a 3-hour game for some reason. And then by the time we were done with the game, he was like shaky, and I was like, I don't have time to get home and make dinner. And like, he's not going to make it. And he's very hangry right now. So I went through a drive-through. We made the best choices that we could, but we did go through a drive-through. And I think that is, that does happen sometimes. And I'm a mom who I actually cook quite a bit, and I do plan for things sometimes, but some days are just not like that. So first I want to ask, what are some of the other concerns that parents have, like when it comes to this? Because, as a coach, he's dealing with so many parents, and they're asking, okay, like, what do we do nutritionally? But what are some other worries that they have? Because I can tell you, I know a lot more than a lot of people. I'm not a nutritionist or anything, but I know a lot about like what to do, but I still get worried, and I'm thinking, are my kids getting enough? Are they, especially because I do have a picky eater in my house too.
Yeah.
So I do worry about that stuff. What are some of the other like worries and struggles that parents were sharing?
Outside of nutrition or inclusive of nutrition?
I mean, honestly, like nutrition, I would say just anything else that they were like, some of the bigger ones that they would come to him with.
Yeah. So a lot of them are very sports specific, right? Like,
Okay.
what should I be doing in terms of strength training? How early is too early to get them in the weight room? I can't. My child's having a problem focusing in the
Yeah.
classroom or on the field, or can't pay attention to their coach for longer than a couple minutes. And the coaches want to have this long, drawn out,
Uh,
inspirational speech that the 8-year-old's not listening to. That's some of it. The NIL world right now, and we're paying these athletes hundreds of thousands of dollars at a very young age. How to navigate that? How do I prepare my child for college or the recruitment process? And then on the nutrition side this is not a shame, by the way. Like, Thread wasn't started to shame parents. I think as a parent myself, I'm guilty of bringing my kids through Chick-fil-A or any other fast food restaurant, right? It was, we are doing everything we can to set up our kids for success. That's the reality of it, is we all want the best for our kids. And we believe that we're making the best decisions along the way to help them achieve that. And so this is the nutritional side of things, is like, what is the best option for them that they're going to eat? That picky eater, can I get them the salad at Chick-fil-A versus the 12 count meal? Are they going to eat that, or are we going to have the battle on our hands in this? And so I think it is a balance of figuring out how do we create this opportunity to set them up foundationally for success in terms of macro and micronutrients and understanding what that means, and get a little bit into their body every single day, and you're going to be better off than you were yesterday, right? That's
yeah.
the idea. So back to your question about what problems are parents diving into or asking Jordan. I think it's all the same questions that we're asking every single day, right? Like, we're about to enter into this new season for puberty with my 11-year-old. Like, what does that look like? How do we navigate that and make sure that she is set up for success? And a lot of our teammates are dealing with Osgood-Schlatters and growing pains, and they're out off the field for a long time right now. Well, what does that mean? And how do I give their ligaments and tendons the nutrients that they need, or the vitamins and minerals that it needs to support that growth and development that they're going through right now? And so there are a lot of questions out there. And like I said earlier, I think that Jordan has a lot of those questions in terms of being a specialist within that coaching world. But the nutrition side of things, we're still learning. All of us are still learning. And that diet 20 years ago is very different than the diet it is today, right? We had this like non-fat culture, drink non-fat milk and have margarine instead of butter. Certain oils, just cook with nothing but oils. And now you're finding out certain things like that might not be good for your brain health, or might have lasting effects on your body, depending on what that is and what your makeup is.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that we're processing the information in real time and trying to adapt with food quality and everything that we're dealing on a macroeconomic landscape as well.
It's so true. I graduated high school in 95, and that whole world of non-fat was like, it was terrible timing to be in high school and to be like afraid of any fat.
Yeah.
And and then also the alternatives were just really high sugar. As long as it was low fat or non-fat, it was good.
Right.
And your brain is missing all of these healthy fats, and because we're scared of the calories. And for brain development, I think that is something that is crucial when we think about our kids, because obviously this is the time where we want to feed their brains whatever we can to help it, the growth and the health of the brain. But I think there has been a lot of changes. And I do, one thing about my son and his coach that I love is he does talk nutrition with him, and he tells him that he should eat certain things. And I'm like, yes, because coming from a coach is way cooler than coming from me.
That's right.
I'm like, this is awesome. Like, I'm so happy that this coach will talk about. And also, you need to learn how to make these things for yourself. You need to learn you should be having eggs. You should be, doing that. And I'm like, great. Like, I can't believe how awesome that is coming from someone that he looks up to that is cooler than mom.
So it's interesting. We did a focus group survey when we first started Thread, and we found that the decision-making on supplements, 50% of those decisions are actually made because a coach influences that decision. So they hold a lot of authority and power and decision making over our kids, which is scary in some senses because we don't know we're not picking and choosing these coaches, right? They're showing up in a lot of fashions, and trying to figure out who their coach is and learning about the way that they discipline and the way that they structure their practices and what the expectations are. But if they have a good grasp and a good handle on what their body needs to perform at the highest level, that information is gold for our kids too. And so I always smile when I find a coach that's willing to dive into that side of things or the mental side of things, even aside from the physical play that they're experiencing on the field.
Yeah, I feel like that's especially true with baseball, right? Like if that isn't a mental sport, I don't know what is. And that's what my son plays.
Yeah. You become pretty resilient, right? A game of failure and you learn how to overcome adversity very quickly in baseball.
You better learn that. Yeah. Or you're going to not be having a lot of fun out there. Right. So just like a little sidestep from the nutrition, which I want to get back to in a little bit, but I just would love to hear your thoughts about today's sports. Like you did mention when you were playing, it was quite different now. What are some of the ways that you see youth sports being different and, comparatively? And then I'd love any tips for parents. I didn't grow up in a sporty family. Like we didn't have a lot of sports. I did softball for this much time. It wasn't a lot. And a lot of the people that I've met, the parents that I've met through my son's baseball journey, they played, their parents played, their coaches, like they're in it. And a lot of parents approach sports different than I do. And I think a lot of them act differently than our parents or, parents of kids that were athletic did back when we were in high school. So can you share any thoughts about that?
Yeah, I'll say I'm a little frustrated with the world of sports today. I think it's a really challenging landscape to navigate. And I have two athletes at home that wake up and live and breathe sports. Soccer and baseball are what they're playing right now. My frustration comes with the fact that we are asking these 10 or 11-year-olds to practice 3 or 4 days a week in one sport and then play 2 or 3 games on the weekends. And they don't have access, one, to be a kid outside of that, but 2, to play other sports. I think that from a very young age, you're being asked to play one sport and become an expert at that sport. And when we grew up, the best athletes played all the sports, right? Yeah. Like you had multi-lettermen in high school, right? They might play football and baseball and run track in the winter. Like that was just something that they did. We are finding from a very young age that these club teams are asking you or demanding you to play only with their club. And if you miss a practice or you miss games, you unfortunately don't have the opportunity to continue to excel, which the snowball effect of that is you don't play the best competition, you don't get in the best tournaments, and you don't get seen by the best people. And we're all worried about the chatter on the sideline is crazy. We're all worried about our 11-year-old being seen by a college recruiter right now.
Right.
And the reality is that's not happening, right? No, there's not a college recruiter in the world right now that's showing up at an 11-year-old game and wondering how our daughter is performing against their local rival club, right?
Right.
We partner with a company called Pure Athlete. They're fantastic. Jeff Francoeur is an I think he was ex Mr. Georgia athlete, played football and baseball. And he said something on one of the podcasts that said, just focus on developing athletes, right? Let them be athletes.
Yeah.
At this point. So whatever that looks like go out and have a good time and be with your friends and be a kid, hustle, teach them the discipline of that. But more importantly, just develop the athlete. And then we'll worry about what you're great at a certain age. And we'll start to invest a little bit more time in that as you get closer to that high school age. And that really hit home for me. Now, how you execute that, you have to make some tough decisions. You have to draw a line in the sand and say, I'm going to play soccer one season and baseball the next and be okay with the repercussions of that. Or have an understanding with the coach that you're going to show up in some fashion, but it is very, very different. And I think that not only from the pressure from the clubs, but also the parents now, because of NIL, which is the wild, wild west. And we are now having the opportunity for kids that are getting into high school can earn these deals as little as, $500 a month, and as much as hundreds of thousands of dollars that they're paying certain high school quarterbacks in high school. In high
Dang.
school. And so, from a parent perspective, we want to do everything we can to set our kids up to accomplish whatever that dream may be, right? And we try to instill in our kids that soccer and sports is not who you are; it's something you do,
Mm-hmm.
right? And really invest into that identity of who you are as an individual, right? Are you rooted in faith, and how are you showing up every single day? Um, and I think that a lot of parents get lost in that being the sport being who the kid is. And
Mm-hmm.
so, and honestly, we were guilty of it when I played as well. That was who we are. That was the identity of that. And I think that it's gotten worse with everything we just talked about.
Yeah. It sounds like you have such a good perspective on it. And I've talked to other athletes who have a similar perspective as you, and I just feel like that's such a healthy way to look at it and relax. I feel like it's a little bit more relaxed. Like we still do it, but like encouraging multiple sports I love. I always tried to do that for my son too. He's tried so many different things, like it's not even funny, but he
Yeah,
always came back to
yeah,
his love of baseball. Like that was number one always,
love it.
but which is great because like I'm so glad he had a chance to try a bunch of other things. And
Yeah,
he did tell me one time we were talking about like travel ball, that's a big thing versus like some of the kids in little league were doing travel ball too, and we decided not to do that. And he's like, what would have happened if I wonder where I would be if you would have put me in travel ball sooner. And
yeah.
I was like, oh shoot, like I think we did the right thing. Who knows? Like maybe it would have advanced him. Maybe he would be injured and hate it. I don't know. Like you can't go back, but
Yeah. I don't subscribe to, I know the statistics, right? That our chances of our kids playing professional anything are very, very small, right?
yeah.
But I don't subscribe to the notion that we should teach them that and diminish their dream if that's what they want to do. Like, go do it. If you go get it, I will set you up for success and give you all the opportunities to go achieve that. I know the uphill battle that they're fighting, right?
Mhm.
But I don't need to be the one that's telling them, no, you're not going to accomplish that because only 0.002% ever reach or whatever that may be, right?
Mhm.
I don't want to do that. But I will tell you the life lessons that I learned in baseball, I use today in business. I use in relationships, in team building, in the way that I show up to business every single day, negotiation skills, confidence. It is just adversity that we just talked about with baseball, right? Like, you learn so much from experiencing a sport and experiencing a sport at a high level. If you are grounded in who you are and can take those teachings away and now implement them into your life and your relationship, you're going to be much better off, right? So I want my kids to play sports. I just want them to really be rooted in that foundation of who they are, and sports being something that they do and not vice versa.
That's so great. I love that. I think that's a really important thing to remember. And yeah, well, who are we to not like encourage them to go for it? Like, especially with your kid, like you did it. So it's possible. You can see that proof. So I want to talk a little bit more about the nutrition. Let's talk about because you did mention behavior, like maybe being able to sit for the coach's long speech, at the end of at the game or whatever. What are some things that we can do for nutritionally for our kids' behavior? And then I want to talk after that about like, just what needs does a child have that, especially an active child, that maybe a not, somebody who's not doing athletics at that time would need. So maybe first, like, what do you see nutritionally with behavior?
Yeah, so I do think that nutrition drives a lot of behavior. Okay, and I'll start by saying I'm not a formulator and I'm not a scientist, but I understand different parts of the body that help fuel action. Okay, so our gut right now, our gut is the heartbeat of essentially everything that we do. It fuels our body, and so if you don't have a healthy gut, it's going to show up in a multitude of ways. Um, and attention and focus and energy is going to be a few of them to mention that, right? And so how are we focusing on probiotics in the gut and what types of food are we putting in there? Highly processed foods are going to impact gut health. And so a well-balanced macro, micro, nutrient dense diet is super important. How many times can you start your day with a glass of lemon water? Getting your daughter to do that is going to be really challenging, right? But can you get them to do some sort of healthy behavior on the front end of the day that helps set them up for a different level of success before they go to school and eat the pizza that's available to them on that? Because you know what's going to happen, Jess. Like
Yeah.
that's just part of the daily routine, right? We do obviously thread with daily fuel. We have them take our shakes on a daily basis. Okay, we do that one for creating a behavior to understand what health nutrition can do to the output of your body. Okay, and two, because some of the ingredients in there we feel like are really important for your long-term health, right? Understanding protein and what it does in your body. We have collagen from a very young age. It's in form of an eggshell membrane that we do, a fermented eggshell membrane. And that has collagens type 1, 5, and 10. So helping with some of that ligament and tendon issues that you're going to experience as you grow and develop. We have an enzyme blend to help break down things in the gut. We have your probiotics in there, ashwagandha, which helps with sleep, rest, recovery, which we haven't touched on yet, but rest and recovery is everything, right? Nutrition is a crucial part of that, but where you're growing and developing and recovering is during that rest period that you have at night. And our kids, tied to screens, tied to whatever distraction they have, they don't get into that deep level of sleep long enough to achieve that rest and recovery that they need. And so I do believe that every person is different. So your genetic makeup is different. What types of food you have access to is different. But foundationally, focusing on protein, healthy fats, fibrous greens that you can put in your body, and a healthy dose of hydration and water, and understanding where that's coming from is going to set you up nutritionally for a different level of success that you are going to avoid some of these or mitigate these behavioral traits, right? We didn't talk about sugar, but I think everybody knows the impact of sugar on some of our kids' behaviors right now. And I don't think sugar is the enemy, especially when we're playing sports. I think a healthy carbohydrate is actually a really good thing for performance on the field. Now, I don't think after the game you need to go and have a Mountain Dew and a Coke and a pack of Sour Patch, right? So it's just one of those things that finding a healthy balance in all of that is going to help mitigate some of these behavioral issues that we have with our kids. I'm dealing with them now. It's just part of I think, developing young kids.
Yeah, I think what you said that is really important too. Like if you can start your day with something, honestly, my peace of mind is like, I feel so much better if I've left the house with my kids having something good in their stomach, because you're right. Like all hell breaks loose sometimes at school. We don't have control, especially as we get older. We can model good behaviors. We can model healthy foods, but like at the end of the day, when we release them into the world, they get to make their own decisions with food. And so I think it's really important that they have a good foundation before they even get out, or like know that there's some vitamins and minerals my kids are getting that it makes me feel good for like, who knows what else is going to happen like the rest of the day. I'd love to hear more about, you mentioned some really good things like the sugar and like the healthy carbohydrates. What are some things, maybe you can give us some tangible tips for moms who are like, what can I feed them post game? Or like, what are some ideas that are kind of kid friendly for athletes? One of the things that one of my girlfriends recommended that she does for her athlete is like in between games, she'll do like one of those honey sticks and she'll just have like a bunch of honey and then get ready for her next game. And it really helps her. But do you have any tips like that?
Yeah, for sure. And I want to go back really quickly, if you don't mind, because I think you said something that was really important. And part of our mission here is changing the conversation at the dinner table. Okay. So how do you connect the food that you're putting into your body and how you felt that day? Because most of our kids don't make that connection, right? So they come home and they're tired and they don't feel great, or their stomach hurts. And like, so let's talk me through your day. What did you have for lunch? Right? Well, I had a pizza, a bag of chips, and a juice box. I'm like, okay, well, tomorrow, rather than like saying you can't have those, because I'm not a believer in that either, let's try maybe the salad and a turkey sandwich and a glass of water for lunch. And let's see how you feel, or an apple, and let's see how you feel. And we start talking about changing that behavior and having them connect the dots
Yeah.
is something that is important for us. So we do this a lot with our son, and he loves sugar as much as the 8-year-old, the next 8-year-old, right? So he has that, and an hour later, he is bouncing off the walls and doesn't feel good and can't focus. And we kind of connect the dots for him. It's like, hey, buddy, remember that sugar that you decided to have, right? And that choice that you made back then? How can we change that and maybe every once in a while have a little bit of sugar introduced to our body because of the impact it's having on you now, because of the way that you feel now? And I think it's our job as parents, as coaches, as athletes to really connect the dots and be really in tune with how our body feels. Mm-hmm. You mentioned this in one of your podcasts too, your previous podcast of just how you felt in when your travels to Europe, right? And going there, and after you ate certain foods, you could eat whatever you want and you felt fine. Mm-hmm. And then you came back and had a very similar take on certain foods here locally, and it was a completely different takeaway, right? And the reality is, it's the purity of it. It's the macro and micronutrients that go into the raw ingredients. It's the genetic makeup of all the food in Europe is just different, right? Yeah. We have the same experience over there when we went this last summer. And I think that it just causes us to be more aware and educate our kids a little bit differently. And let's change that behavior. Let's just talk about it at the dinner table, not shy away from it. We are not shaming them into a low-fat, non-fat diet. That's not the intention here. It's correlating behavior and input, right? Behavior, input, and output. And so if we can educate them on that, I think that we're getting one step closer to achieving our goal.
I think that's so important. And I think a lot of adults don't even have that awareness sometimes with their bodies. Like, I ate something and this could be why. For better or for worse, my son has some allergies, and he, from a young age, has been able to be like, he'll know right away. I ate something, it made me feel this way. And for a long time, there was a little period where he'd just eat the things he's not supposed to eat. And it got to a point where he's like, okay, I know now that it's making me feel this way. That's not worth it. Yeah. And he was able to make that conclusion by himself, and which is amazing, because it's like you said, we don't want to be like, you shouldn't do this, or this food's bad. I don't believe in that. Right. I just think that'll just draw them to it even more. Yep. And I don't think food is good or bad, but there is that connection between, and I think this is just good in general, like knowing your body and knowing what is good and what, makes you feel, what do you want to feel like? Do you want to feel great today? Do you want to have a great game? Because let's think about it. Like, if you're feeling terrible because you had a terrible breakfast and you go play, it does affect performance. And if they are very into their performance, especially as they get older, they take it very serious. Like, they want to be able to connect those dots. And I think, especially with the younger ones, it's helpful for us parents to help guide them in that, or like what you did. Like, let's go back and look what we did earlier and like see how this is all interconnected.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's hard for the kids to connect early on. Yeah. And as you mentioned, there's plenty of adults out there that struggle with it as well. And so they do need help in all of that. And they're not going to, those choices, I think, understanding they have a choice is number one for us, at least. And when they make a choice that may set them down a different path, we can educate them on what may have been the root cause of that. So I think it's something that we're pretty intentional about.
Yeah, I think it's so important. And I think if it comes from that place, because when I was growing up and my parents were growing up, it was a different environment around food. And, it was not a healthy one. It was all about, back then it was more about like looking a certain way, right, and not just performance or the way you feel or doing things for the health of your body. So we live a long quality life. When you're young, who cares about that old person down the road? You don't care. And even in my 20s, I was like, I'm literally like, you can't touch me. I would do whatever I wanted, and I didn't care about my health. But, I think when you have somebody or a child or a teen or whatever age, they are really serious about sports and they want to go far with sports, this is going to matter to them. And so for those kids, tell us more about your products that help with performance? I mean, this is going to help them in what ways? Like, tell us more about the products.
Yeah. So we have three products currently out on the market. Our hero product is called Daily Fuel, and it's a powder product that you mix with either water or your favorite type of milk, right? Any type of milk that you would like. And it's made up of 62 different vitamins, minerals, and superfoods in there. And so we like to say that if you change nothing about your behavior except adding Daily Fuel into it on a daily basis, you're setting your child up for a different level of success than they had yesterday, right? So I know how busy all the parents are. I understand it. I live it. Just one packet of Daily Fuel and pour it in your water and shake it up for them and let them be off and running. And it's made in a pouch so that you can conveniently do it after school if you needed to, or after a workout, throw it in their gym bag, whatever they need. But the big drivers of it are protein, collagen, probiotics, ashwagandha, and it has a greens formula in there as well. So really you're trying to, all your daily vitamins are in there as well. You're trying to just set them up with a little bit of the micro and macronutrients that you need to be successful. Now, I do want to hit on one thing. We're very focused on high quality vitamins and minerals with high bioavailability. So vitamins and minerals are not all created equal. I'm sure that you know that. But you can go into the store and find 10 different vitamin Bs in there, right? And the reality is that where it's sourced from, how it's manufactured, it all matters. It's super important. And our daily values, right, today are made up with a lack of understanding of bioavailability. And so our body, if it's not set up for maximum absorption, okay, then we are going to discard most of the nutrients and vitamins that we put into our body. And so our formulas, I'm not the formulator, but our formulators worked very hard to craft a highly absorbable formula for this audience. And so we're trying to make, you'll notice a lot of the daily values are less than what is recommended per the CDC. Done intentionally, one, because we're dealing with younger kids, but two, because of the bioavailability of the vitamins and minerals, you don't need as much, right? And what you are missing, we want you to supplement with some whole foods in there. Start your day with some eggs, have some protein bites before, like a protein ball before you go and practice, your honey stick, or, whatever that is, whatever you need in there that's going to help bridge the gap in there, is going to be great. But the reality is like the quality of the ingredients we use is going to set you up for a different level of success in there. So
that sounds awesome.
We have a vanilla and chocolate flavor. That is the foundation of what we're doing, changing that behavior. Like, let's start with that. Let's get that in their body. Yeah. The next two are really more performance driven. Okay. So it's called Daily Edge and Daily Strength. So Daily Edge is a mineral blend. It's zinc, iron, copper, molybdenum, and then we have beetroot powder in there. So there's 5 ingredients. And really this is an energy blend. Without the caffeine, without all the B vitamins in there, it doesn't make you jittery. What it does is it's going to amplify the iron and ferritin levels in your body and allow you to breathe more efficiently. And so by breathing more efficiently and oxygenating your body differently, you're going to be able to perform higher or faster and better at a longer, at a higher level. And this is something where 51% of female athletes actually suffer from a iron deficiency and they don't know it. And they show up and they're tired, or they're on their menstrual cycle and they're not feeling their best. Well, they're iron deficient or the ferritin deficient. And so this has been a game-changing formula for females, especially. The male athletes, 17% of male teenage athletes also suffer from an iron deficiency. And so this just amplifies your blood oxygenation in your body, and allows you to perform at a different level.
Awesome.
And then the last product is called Daily Strength. And so for me in high school, I was like 120 pounds soaking wet, and I didn't know how to gain weight or strength. And so we wanted to, it's a common problem for a lot of 14 and 15 year olds. But we wanted to find a natural solution to building strength, to increasing the strength in there. So you weren't tempted to go to some of those synthetic ingredients out there that that might have lasting effects on your body, right?
Right.
And so we actually have a proprietary blend. It's called Rip Factor that we license from a supplier. And what it is, botanical blend, and it's made up of mango tree extract, mango leaf extract, and your Indian globe thistle. So it is two very powerful botanicals. And what they do is they stimulate ATP in the body. So you're absorbing protein at a higher rate and you're fighting off protein degradation in your body. And so you're just building muscle faster. And so when you talk about the protein and the importance of absorbing protein in your body, this is going to actually absorb that at a different rate, and you're going to see results very quickly. We were really excited about this because of the case studies that were done on it. You're talking 2.6 times greater upper body strength against placebo, and you're seeing results within 14 days on this.
Wow.
So it's a pretty cool ingredient. Very excited about providing a natural solution for this audience. And it's been great to see the testimonials and the results.
That sounds amazing. My son is going to want all of these things. Okay, so let me ask you a question, because I had a mom reach out to me and asked me this, and I had no answer for her because I'm not an expert here.
Uh-oh.
But what do you think about creatine for kids or, teens, I would say?
Great question. Controversial ingredient, and I don't think it should be, from my opinion.
Okay.
I think it's an incredible ingredient, and it does matter where you source it from, and it does matter how much you're taking. And so every person is going to be different in there. And so I would definitely do your research and say, this is the right dose. But I believe that all of us should be taking creatine on a daily basis in some fashion. Our creatine stacks really well with our daily strength formula. We do not have our own creatine at this time, definitely down the road.
Yeah.
But right now, creatine is something that is, I think, great for all of us to be taking.
I'm really glad you said that. I was leaning towards that answer because of what I've learned about creatine. And I've learned it's really good for the brain and that women should be taking it.
Right.
And women are afraid to take creatine because they're afraid we're going to get puffy. And I have to admit, I started taking creatine. When I first started taking it, I was taking it at like the dose my husband takes it. Yeah. And I was like, am I bloated or like what's happening? Yeah. So I did feel that. And then I dumbed it down a little bit. I shortened my dose and I don't have that anymore.
It's great. Yeah. I think it's everything else that we're doing as well, right? So those are adjustments into the supplementation that we're having. It's something that our body wasn't used to getting. I mean, you're not going to eat enough meat to get the creatine that you need in your body. And so how are you supplementing to get you to the appropriate levels where you need to be? But also, like, what does your hydration look like? And how are you flushing your body? And are you doing any sauna regimen? I mean, there's a lot of different ways that you can cleanse your body, but creatine is definitely something your body needs and thrives on when it's done in the right way.
I'm so glad I asked you that. Okay. Yeah. Thank you so much. That was awesome. And it's something that my son hasn't started taking, but I feel like he's ready. Like he's almost 15, So this has been so amazing. I cannot wait to try these products for my son. He was already excited when I told him about this interview. So thank you so much for coming on. Can you please tell our audience, where can we find Thread? And I will make sure, of course, to link everything in the show notes too.
Yes. And thank you for having me on. I've loved the conversation. All of our products are available at threadperformance.com. You can go directly through there. We do sell on Amazon as well. But if you have any questions, all of the details are in the site. We have a performance portal for our parents that is more of an educational format so that you can dive into some case studies and what is actually in the ingredients there. Everything you need is available on our site.
Okay. Yeah. I'll link all of that. Honestly, I know a lot of moms that I speak to and dads, they want to help support their kids. Yeah. And we need to be educated too. So it's we can help them with their journeys. But thank you again. It was so good to meet you. And I cannot wait to share this with my audience.
Yeah, likewise. Thank you, Jess.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to this week's episode. Please subscribe and review so we can reach more people who want to learn to glow alongside us. See you next time.